Gittin. We are on Chesed. One who divorced his wife and then she lies with him in Iran. Beis Shammai says she does not need a second get from him. Beis Hillel says she does need a second get from him. When? When she was divorced from Nisuin. They agree that if she was divorced from ever since, she does not need a second get from him because his heart is not close to her. If a man married a woman on the basis of a ball get, then they must leave both of them and all of them. These procedures apply to her. A ball get may be completed by anyone. These are the words of Ben Nanas. Rabbi Kiva says no one may complete it except relatives who are qualified to test away elsewhere. What does a ball get? Anyone whose bindings are more than its witnesses. And if you divorce your wife and says to her, you are permitted to every man except so and so, Rabbi Eliezer permits her, the sages, however, permit her. What shall she do? He must take it from her and give it to her again and say to her, you are permitted to every man. And if he wrote it inside, he subsequently erased it. It is void. Okay.
Okay. Hare at muteres lechol adam. So the husband says to his wife, when he gives her the get, you are permitted to marry every man, ela la'abav avicha, but you cannot marry your father, or you cannot marry my father. Or la'achicha, my brother, your brother, Eved, l'nochri, a non-Jew, or a slave. L'chol mi she'ein la alav kiddushin, any person with whom kiddushin does not take effect. Okay, if a man goes to his daughter and says Harayat Makadeshesli, nothing happened. It's just kiddushin doesn't work. Okay, so what this man is saying when he stipulates this condition in the divorce is a net zero. Nothing happened because she couldn't marry them anyway. Therefore, it's kosher. The get is still good. However, Harayat Muteres lechol adam ela Ela almana lekohen gadol grusha v'chalutz lekohen hedyot. So I don't know why. I think the reason why the Mishnah mentions almana lekohen gadol, rather than just saying ela kohen gadol or kohen hedyot, because she's intrinsically a divorcee when he gives her the get. So of course she
Right.
can't marry a kohen, right? So but because all around the rest of the Mishnah we have all these prohibited marriages of um, Almana lekohen gadol and grusha v'chalutza lekohen hedyot. So since the Mishnah does it everywhere else, along with mamzeret and asila Yisrael, bas Yisrael, mamzer lenasin, those are it's like chereshot of a katan. Every time you hear chereshot of a katan, it's the same. It's the same group, and this is the same group of people who are not allowed to get married, but where kiddushin actually does take effect. So if a regular Jewish man gives a gift to a mamzeres and says Harayat Mekudeshesli, it's a kiddushin. He has to divorce her, but it's a kiddushin. So if now the husband who's divorcing her says, you're not allowed to Harayat Mutesh L'chol Adam Ela LeKohen Gadol or LeKohen Hedyot, or if she's a regular Bas Yisrael Lemamzer, or if she's a mamzeres that she's not allowed to marry any regular Jew. Since l'chol mi sheyesh alav kiddushin afilu ba'avera pasul, even if that kiddushin would be an avera, then it would still be nonetheless the get is pasul because he has restricted her from doing a kiddushin with somebody, even if it's a kiddushin of avera. Okay, Gufa shall get. What is the main body of the get itself? Hare at muteres l'chol adam. That is the main part of the get is the fact that you are hereby permitted to marry any other person. That's the main effect of it. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Omer. So he adds in some Aramaic over here. V'dain di havi lechi minai sefer teruchin v'igeres shibukin v'get peturin. So it's in Aramaic because I guess that was the language that they spoke at the time. Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda says no, the get must also include the fact that this is from me your sefer teruchin. How do we translate these terms? Um, uh, is
That's
Sefer Gerushin.
right.
This is your writ of divorce, Vigeris
Right.
Zovin, and a letter of leaving and a document of dismissal.
release, right?
or
Right.
really. Hisnasva lechol gvar ditztavin, so that you may now be married to any man that you choose. Okay, so he adds in the preamble as
Uh,
a necessary thing. And Chachamim say that's not, the preamble is not strictly necessary. Once you say you're permitted to marry any other person, that's done. Okay. Gufo shall get shichrur. Now, what's a get shichrur? This is for a slave. If you have a slave and you want to release the slave, what is the main body of that? It's also called a get of a sort. Hare at bas chorin, hare at la'atzmach. It's written in the feminine because we've been talking about divorcing a woman, but this, of course, equally applies to a male slave. So you are now free. You belong to yourself. Okay. Shlosha Gittin Psulin. Now there are three types of pasul Gittin. The imni says halavlad kosher. So every other time when we've had a get that was pasul, um, we say that this is a completely invalid marriage, and the child that she has of anyone that she remarries after this is now a mamzer. But there are three types of gittin that we're a lot more makil on because ma'ikar adin they're actually okay, and yes, Chazal were machmir on certain cases of Gittin where the Torah was makil, and they had all these major penalties. But in these cases, the worst that can happen out of the psul in the get is a chashash, and we'll see them inside now. Okay. Um, which means that also she doesn't have to get divorced from the second guy. We said that
right.
it was not the right get. You should have gotten another one. If you hadn't yet gotten married again, we would tell your husband to give you another get. That's okay. But if she remarries, then they just say just leave it. Okay. So what are the cases? Kasav bichsav yado ve'ein alav edim. What happens? The husband wrote the whole get in his own handwriting, but there are no edim signed on it. Okay. So why is that? Because his own handwriting is enough of a testimony. We need the Adam to establish because normally it's a sofer who writes it. We don't know who wrote this thing, and the fact that the get is written in the husband's own handwriting is enough to establish. Because what we have over here, who establishes what establishes the actual giving over is the fact that you've got Adam who saw the get being given over. Just because you've got Adam written on a document doesn't make the get take effect. It's you've got to actually have seen that he gave the get to her. Okay. Kasa b'chsav yado ve'en alav edim. Yesh alav edim. Oh, it's got witnesses on it ve'en bozman, but it's undated. Okay, so the get is signed, but there was no date on it. So why did Chazal insist that you have to have a date on it? Because you might have a little kanunya going on. That let's say a man's married to a relative, somebody who he knew from before, and she goes and commits adultery. And now and there are witnesses against her, and she's going to get executed. So the husband has Rahmanas on his wife, even though he's going to have to divorce her, but he doesn't want her to get executed. So he writes out this divorce wait, he writes out a divorce and gives it to her in front of right, and the witnesses see it, and they sign on this divorce, and oh, it's a valid divorce. Now this all happened after the fact. So what does he do? If we don't have a date on it, then he comes back and scribbles in the date beforehand. So now she comes and takes this get and brings it to the court and says, yeah, I had relations with him, but I was already divorced. So now she gets off the hook. Okay, so that's one of the things that one of the ways that it could happen. It's a bit of a corner case that's somebody would do this. So Chazal wanted the date to prevent this, but we're not going to invalidate the get if it doesn't have a date on it. Okay. Yesh bo zman ve'en bo ela eid echad. The date is written on it, This is all if it's written in the husband's handwriting, um, because one witness is not enough to establish it. Um, but Hare elu shlosha gitin psulin. So we add in this case of Eid Echad, we said already that if the get was written in the husband's handwriting, that even if it doesn't have any Eidim on it, it's still okay. But this is coming to tell us that even if it's written in his handwriting and you've only got one aid, and even if it's got the date on it, we still would want the husband to rewrite it lechatchila. That's what we're saying. It is puzzle, but it's obviously as a kal v'chomer from the previous case. But why do we mention in the Mishnah? Just to tell you that this actually is a get puzzle, even if it's in the husband's handwriting. Hare elu shlosha gittin pasulin. V'imni says havlad kasher. The parcel gittin, and lechatchila she should get another get, but we're not going to make a fuss about it if she gets remarried on the basis of this get. Rabbi Elazar Omer, אף על פי שאין עליו עדים, אלא שנשאנו לה בפני עדים כאשר. So Rabbi Elazar says the whole thing is that we hand over as long as even if the get doesn't have Adim on it, but you've got Adim who saw the get being given over, right? That's even if it's not written in the husband's handwriting, even that is kosher. V'gova minachasim meshubadim, and it entitles her to when she gets a divorce, to this entitles her to go to the husband's property and collect her kasuba from landed property. Now, why is this? Why are we mentioning this? Because the fact that she can collect from landed property means the date is important, because if there's somebody else who came and bought the land from her husband, right? She's now a creditor, and she could theoretically gazump the buyer and say, "Listen, that land is meshubah to my ksuba. I'm taking it back so that for payment for my ksuba." But there's no date on the shtar. Maybe the buyer had already taken possession of it. Oh wait, even if no, that's meshubah to the ksuba, it's not the get. Oh wait, no, that can't be right. I'm sorry. Just let me. Why does this matter? אפילו מנכסים שמכרם הבעל לאחרים. Why is the date? Let's just check in the article, because the article brought up this point when I was preparing, and I suddenly thought, no, but it's not dependent on the date of the get; it's dependent on the date of the kasuba. And the same is true. Okay, they can. So if it is written by someone, it's not it's invalid. Okay. It says even if no witnesses, but the husband gave it to her in front of witnesses, it's kosher, and she can collect. Go. No, it's a separate case. No, that's not a separate case. It can't be a separate case for Gova. The article has reinterpreted this as a Gove, and I've got Gova, which makes a big difference. That's talking about according to article commentary, it's a complete context switch. That Gove Nechasim Meshubadim is talking about a borrower and a lender. That even like a regular star, that's interesting. That's very interesting, because it's a completely different take on the Mishnah. My first take on the Mishnah, because it's written in the feminine, is that the wife can collect from landed property, and I was thinking, what's the chiddush over here? She'ein Eidim chos min get ela mipnei tikkun ha'olam. The reason why Eidim sign on the get is just as a tikkun ha'olam, so that people don't, if the witnesses who saw it died, people don't start chattering about whether she's really divorced or not, because we've got people signed on the document. But the real effect of it is done by the Eidim. The government mechasim neshubadim means that it's the same thing when it comes to shtar chov, that the Baal Chov is allowed to collect from landed property even if there's no date on the document, because the Adim are the ones who so there it makes a difference what the date is, because that puts you in line for to be a creditor. So as long as you can get the agent to come and testify, yeah, this happened on such and such a date, you could grab the property from somebody who bought it afterwards. Okay, let's go back to Vav Daled. Gosh,
$12.
yeah,
A woman said, "Bring me my get." She's may eat truma until the get reaches her hand. If she said, "Receive my get from me," she is forbidden to eat truma immediately. If she said, "Receive my get from me in such and such a place," she may eat truma until the get reaches that place. Reb Elliot prohibits it immediately. If one says, "Write a get and give it to my wife, divorce her," or write a letter and give it to her, they may write and give it to her. If she said, "Release her, provide for her, do as her is customary, do for her as was proper," but do not say anything. Originally, they said if one goes out in chains and and says, "What write a gift for my wife?" They have a right. They write and give it. And they say, later they said also one who goes out to sea and one who lives in a caravan. Reb Shimon says Shimon Shuri says also one who is in danger. If one was thrown into a pit and he said, "Whatever he hears my voice should get a right again for his wife," they shall write and give it. If a healthy man said, "Write again for my wife," she desired to haunt me. It happened that a healthy man said, "Write again for my wife," and he went up to the top of the roof and he fell and died. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said the sages say if he fell on his own, if it is a get, if the word wind pushed him, it is not a get. If
okay,
someone says,
that's it. Let's go to soccer.
we have Gimel, hey, yes.
Hey.
Reb Shimon says, merit does not hold the punishment of the middle waters in abeyance. For if you say that merit does hold the punishment of the curse causing waters in abeyance, they would diminish the or other waters in the minds of all the women who must drink. And you defame all the undefiled women who have drunk, because it will be said that they were defiled, but merit held their punishment in abeyance. Rebbe says merit holds the punishment of the curse causing waters in abeyance, but she does not bear children or continue to thrive, but raises her age by degrees, and in the end she dies that death. And her mink offering became tameh before it was sanctified in a service vessel. It is like all other mink offerings, and it may be redeemed, but it may, after it was sanctified in the service vessel, it is like all the mink offerings that must be burned. These are the ones who mink offerings must be burned. One who says, "I'm defiled to you," or "I'm about whom witnesses testify that testified that she is defiled, the one who says, "I will not drink," or whose husband does not want to give her to drink, or whose husband cohabitated with her on the way. The mink offerings of all who are married to Kohanim must be burned. The daughter of a non-Kohen married to a Kohen, her mincha offering must be burned. But if the daughter of a Kohen married a non-Kohen, her mincha offering is eaten. How does a Kohen differ from the daughter of a Kohen? The mincha offering of a Kohen's daughter is eaten, while the mincha offering of a Kohen is not eaten. Cohen's daughter can be is entitled, but a Kohen cannot be entitled. A Kohen's daughter may continue to contaminate himself with the tumor of the dead, but a Kohen may not contaminate with the tumor of the dead. And a Kohen may eat of the most holy offerings, but the daughter of a Kohen may not eat of the most holy offerings.
Okay, that's it. I'm gonna have to go at this point.
All right, I'm sorry I missed.
Okay, no worries. Have a good Shabbos.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.